Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Redford, and this is the follow up. Coming up on tonight's show, they call themselves CSOs, or Chief Science Officers, student leaders driving the STEM initiative of science, technology, engineering, and math in our schools. Many economic analysts say it's the key to our nation's future, driving innovation and securing economic security. And many of these CSOs began their journey in middle school. Tonight, you'll hear from three people working on the front lines of this very important Chief Science Officer program. But first, we would like to hear from you to help drive the conversation here on the follow-up. You can do that in a variety of ways via social media on Facebook. You can email us. You can dial into our follow-up hotline to voice your opinion or suggest future show topics. And you can leave a comment on YouTube as well. And if you'd like to watch any of our past shows this season, just log on to deltapublicmedia.org. Now for tonight's show, we have three great guests. They're going to be great guests. Ty Jarvis on my right, he is a Chief Science Officer alum, now Saginaw Valley State University student, but acting as a mentor and continuing to guide the current CSOs. We have Sahiba over here on my left. She is from Midland High School. And we have Emma to her left, and she is from John Glenn High School. Nice having you in, guys.
Thank you.
Excited to talk about
Thank
what you
you.
do, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've all heard about STEM, right? Math, science, technology, engineering, and math. It's an important driver of our economy and in our schools, which we're going to hear more about. Not so much about CSOs, or the Chief Science Officer program, and their connection to STEM, right? So I guess, Ty, I'll start with you. What are Chief Science Officers, and how does this sort of all correlate to STEM?
Yeah, so Chief Science Officers, like we get to call STEM ambassadors.
Okay.
So these students are STEM leaders in their schools, and their job as a CSO is to not only promote STEM in their school, but their community. And they do that through things we call action plans, which are activities, events that they run in their school or community that gets more kids interested and excited about STEM. So a lot of times they may do cool STEM experiments in front of younger elementary students, or take it a step further and host events at airports or parks related to different STEM career fields. So a lot of different ways that our CSOs are getting students involved in STEM.
So how long has this CSO program been around? And it's international now, right?
Yeah, so the Chief Science Officer program started in 2015 in Arizona, and then slowly began to grow. And in 2017, we started here in the Great Lakes Bay region. And from here on out, we have continued to grow. We are now over 80 CSOs here in the Great Lakes Bay region east. And 3 years ago, we added another cabinet in the west out of Central Michigan University.
So tell me about your journey. You went to Carleton High School, but you got exposed to it, I think you said, in middle school?
Yeah, so I learned about this in 8th grade coming out of middle school. This new program was beginning and kind of caught my interest. I like science and math. And so as a sophomore, I then applied and got into the program through Carleton High School. And I was able to be a part of the program for 2 years as a sophomore and a junior. And it really opened my eyes to so many different STEM careers out there that honestly I had no idea were real professions. And as a student, I was more on the shy side. I wasn't a leader like these two, wasn't a part of the leadership council. But now coming back as a mentor, I'm able to kind of push these students more to step out of their shell, try new things, because as a student, I didn't do that yet. I was still kind of nervous and shy and didn't really have no one to push me. So it's awesome to come back, mentor, and be able to push these students to try new things, come on shows like this, and talk about this amazing program.
Excellent. So it's all about. Okay, we'll be back to you in a moment. So Sahiba, talk to me about your journey. You're at Midland Dow. You're a junior. So when did you first hear about this CSO program?
So just like Ty, I actually started pretty early on. I found out about the program when I was going into sixth grade. So I started the earliest you can, the 6th to 12th grade program. And this is actually my 6th year in the program. So I've been in there for a while. And I found out about it when I used to actually follow my sister to her middle school. I used to wait for her to like finish up school. And her science teacher used to host these like after school STEM activities. So I would just be waiting, but I was really interested in them. And the teacher saw that. And this was actually the advisor of the CSO program for Jefferson. And then she invited me to come on. So I joined in Jefferson, but just like Ty, I was like really, really shy all throughout middle school. But then once COVID hit, I started to get more involved with some of the online opportunities that they were giving. And then I got so involved to the point where I was able to join like leadership council and really spread my voice.
Think back when you were in middle school, just a few years ago, does the STEM sort of initiatives, the science, technology, engineering, math, was that something that you were sort of interested in? And then this thing just kind of opened up your eyes even more.
I would say so, because I think I joined because I had that interest in science.
Right.
I think when I grew up around science and I love learning new things, but the CSO program let me be more of a leader in that way because I knew I liked it, but I didn't really do anything with it, right? It's like when you can do something, but then you can do something for the good of others. So the CSO program helped me really share that voice.
So, Emma, I'll segue off of that with you. You're at John Glenn. You're a junior.
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore.
Yeah.
Okay, you're way ahead of your class here.
Yeah.
So, play off of what Sahiba had to say in terms of what's your journey, what's your experience. When did you first get exposed to it?
So I got exposed to it at the end of 6th grade. My science teacher at the time, Miss Wendy, asked me to be a chief science officer. And at the time, I was like, what's a chief science officer? Like, why are you asking me specifically? And it's because that year I ran the Water Heroes Club, which was kind of a STEM club based in nature. And so I started like right in the middle of COVID, and my 7th grade year, I re-renovated my courtyard at my middle school, which furthered my STEM education. So
Renovated the courtyard. So expand on that. Like, what did you do? Tell us about the plan and what did you accomplish?
So at we have leadership training institutes, and you basically learn how to do and how to plan an action plan. And so we have these boxes in our courtyard. And so I basically came up with the plan, applied for a mini grant, got a budget, and I went to the store one day, and during my flex classes and just my open classes, I would plant. Yeah.
Did it by yourself, and did you have a team part of that?
I did it by myself.
Wow. So tell us about some other action plans that you've done. I'm assuming that you both started at middle school like Ty did. I assume you're taking on bigger and bigger challenges, right, with each year. So walk us through that a little bit. Some of the action plans you've done over the years and kind of what you're sort of working on now. So
I can go ahead and start. So
sure.
in 6th grade, like I mentioned, very shy. So started out with a pretty shy action plan. Started out with doing some crime scene investigation. It was actually a class at Jefferson. They had just started it. So I got like the marshmallows and, different things with forensics. And I had the crime scene investigation teacher was actually Mrs. Brilhart, who was my advisor. And she really got me out of that shell. She helped me host that first plan. But then after that, once COVID hit, affected a lot of us, had to be everything virtual. Then that experience led me to explore the program more. So I got in touch with one of the major advisors in the program, and we planned out this international math festival. So I started emailing a lot of different organizations, and I hosted a math festival in July of 2020, and it was really successful. We had people from all around the world come on and do basically puzzles to promote problem solving. And that was a spark for me that I knew I wanted to keep doing math, and I wanted to keep helping other people like math. So that was a virtual action plan. And now that we're back in, real world, I wanted to try to do this in person. So it's been a struggle because that transition. But this year I was finally able to go to Central Park and Siebert, and I hosted these events for 4th and 5th graders.
Wow. Same thing. What other action plans have you done since middle school? What are you doing now?
I can't really compare to Sahiba. She's been doing the international overachiever thing. I've been this year. I'm actually doing a STEM and leadership club at my middle school, and so we usually like meet bi-weekly, and I plan different STEM activities and just different things that they can learn from STEM, different careers, and just to have fun and socialize because CSO is also about socialization, and just learning how to communicate with others.
So back when I was in school a long time ago, STEM wasn't really a thing. I mean, there was science, technology, engineering, and math, I assume, but it wasn't really promoted, I don't think, very well. And I think it just seemed to highlight just maybe a few people in the school that really were into math, into technology, into science. But do you think because it's become such a positive thing and it's so important to our economy, do you think it's starting to appeal to more than just a few? I mean, are there a lot more people in your high schools that are saying, hey, this is an area that I think I can get into? Maybe I didn't think I was, because they're turning it into, it's more fun, it's challenging, but it's making it, I wouldn't say the word cool, but maybe it's a bit more cool. What do you guys think about that?
I think the idea is if you can make it cool from a young age, then you're going to step into it. So a lot of these STEM activities, especially in CSO, we tend to do them for like the elementary or even middle school. And that allows us to get them interested early on, which I think carries on. So for me, that carried on all the way to high school. I think in high school, there are a lot more people now considering STEM careers, especially with like AI going around so much these days. There's just so much you can do in technology and STEM. But I think setting the milestone early on is what lets you do that in high school.
Yeah, I also agree. Like the more activities we have for elementary schoolers and middle schoolers to get them more engaged, the more likely they are going to take on a STEM career in high school and in college. I mean, I personally love STEM, and I got started early. So I think if we start people early, then they'll just learn to love it. And it's found in pretty much everything we do.
Great.
Yeah.
So Ty, you're a little bit older, you're a mentor, you've gone through the program. So do you think it's getting better in terms of promoting it better so that more young people like this will say, this is something I need to get into because this is where the economy's kind of going too?
Oh, definitely. Can definitely call it cool. Some would even call it STEMazing. I mean, if you look at job careers, STEM careers are in most demand right now. And if you want to talk money-wise, there's some of the highest paying jobs as well. STEM is in more things than most people know. And I think now it is such a greater push and there's more knowledge on what jobs are really considered in STEM that students are now more engaged and more likely to kind of figure out, okay, I am using science in this career. I am using math, technology, whatever it may be in these careers. And now they're able to kind of take from their core classes in high school or wherever it may be and kind of take that next step to, okay, STEM is cool. STEM is the career I want to go into, no matter what part of the spectrum it may be on.
Right. And we're showing the viewers right now, you can see it on our screen. These are sort of the educational paths, careers, right? Astronomy, biology, chemistry, computer science, electrical engineering, geology, information technology, math, mechanical engineering, all of that. So I'll ask all of you this, when you see that, sometimes schools are criticized for, we're just going to test for a grade or just study to pass a test. Back there used to be a MEET test. I don't know if they even do that anymore. But now what you guys are doing with STEM and in your schools, do you kind of connect the dots that say, hey, what I'm doing as a CSO in the STEM environment, that's what you're training me for things like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not in the CSO program. We're not training for one specific letter, not just science, not just technology, not just engineering, not just math. What we're doing is we are trying to make our CSOs exposed to STEM, but we're also making them leaders. So these students aren't learning how to be a scientist per se. These students are learning how to be leaders so they can communicate everything they're learning back to their school and community. So they may have a passion and they may use that towards their action plan. So for Simon's example, she loves math. So that's kind of her direction for her action plan. And with her being a leader, she can then open the doors for other students in her school, not just for math, but other STEM careers. They can come to Sahiba as a leader who has met plenty of STEM professionals right here in the Great Lakes Bay region and help students make those connections. Because one of the biggest things is these students in schools may not be learning exactly how to become one of those professions that were just on the screen. But if they're able to meet one right here in the Great Lakes Bay region, right here in our backyard, that's where the real difference can be made. And they can start to make those connections of, okay, here's my first step into this career.
So that's a really good point. How does the CSO program work in terms of your time and when you do it? How often do you get together? What are those activities like when you get together? And based on what I'm hearing from Ty, it's not, you don't pigeonhole you into a certain place. They give you a chance to think about things, be innovative, find some areas you're really, really good at. So there's a lot in that. So let's start with kind of how much time you put into it. Where do you go to do this? Is it extracurricular? That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So there's always like some flexibility here, but there are some like specific, like I guess, timeline to follow. So we always have what's called cabinet meetings. We have 2 of them throughout the year, which is where we get together and all the chief science officers are able to, socialize and meet all those STEM professionals and get some good work done on their action plans. But then there's also deadlines like, hey, we want you to have your action plan idea by this time, or approved action plan idea, or finish your action plan by this time. And I think for timing, it kind of depends, right, on your commitment level, your interest level. For me and Emma, it's definitely on the higher side. Me personally, I consider CSO as like one of my highest extracurriculars in a sense. Like I really put a lot of time in, not just this local program, but the international program. So for me, it's definitely something that like grows me a lot and I spend a lot of time on.
So how much of your day or your week, your month do you put into the CSO program?
It really depends. We have an LTI every summer, usually at the beginning of August. So that's about what, 8 to 10 hours for 2 days?
LCI, tell me what that means.
Yeah, LTI. So that's our Leadership Training Institute.
Got it.
So all of our CSOs come to Saginaw Valley. That's where we are hosted out of. And they get to go through different classes on becoming a CSO and kind of learn what an action plan is if they're a new CSO, how they kind of plan to perform it throughout their school year, kind of the small details. And like returning CSOs like these two who are a part of our leadership council, they are actually now able to teach our new students because of how long they have been in the program. And yeah, that's kind of just their opening vision to what a CSO is and kind of their first step into the program.
So what's it take to be a CSO? What kind of people are you looking for? Do you get recruited to do that? What's involved in being a CEO and being identified as a CEO? So not everybody interested in STEM is going to be a chief science officer, right? So tell me about that. How did you become CSOs?
Yeah, you definitely don't need to be interested in STEM, right? I mean,
Right.
the goal is to get more people interested in STEM. So I think all you need to do is have some kind of passion and some kind of motivation, and then you can make any idea you want come to life. So come in with like at least some kind of will to make some positive societal impact, and then we can help you get that to action.
Yeah, as long as you have motivation in the Chief Science Officers program, you can pretty much get through it and do anything that you really want to that's STEM related.
So what's the sort of end goal for you guys? I mean, again, you're a sophomore, you're a junior. Is this kind of a resume builder? Is it an opportunity to open doors for maybe some internships if you want to stay in sort of a STEM field? Is it simply an opportunity to network with people in a STEM field that can open some doors for you? And try not to look too far ahead, but I know you're both looking at, maybe colleges and what you want to do. So talk to me a little bit about, what is done to maybe open some doors to get to kind of where you want to go.
Yeah, so for me, I would say it's a lot of a character builder because I started in this when I was only in 6th grade, right? I wasn't exactly thinking like 10 years along the road back then, but I joined it because I was like, okay, I want a new perspective, right? A lot of times when you think of STEM related activity, it's like you're doing the specific science, maybe like a science fair or robotics, for example. But this opened my eyes to like the realm of advocacy, right? And now at this point, I'm in 11th grade. I'm heading off to college soon. I'm looking into a tech career. So it definitely allows me to have a say in the STEM world, but it helps me more on the side of I definitely want to be doing advocacy or speaking events even in my own career. So I would love to continue talking at events like this. So I think that's what this helps me with.
So, Emma, what do you think? What have you thought about your visions for the future, at least what it looks like, looking ahead a little bit, what you'd like to do and how this is helping you?
Yeah, I would like to be some sort of engineer, maybe mechanical, environmental. I don't really know yet. I still have 2 to 3 years. And so what the CSO program does is it builds your leadership skills. It's not just something to put on your resume. It's something that most people fully commit to and really express yourself through STEM.
Sure. What I found interesting, Ty, when you and I chatted on the phone a few days ago, you hit the STEM stuff pretty hard from middle school to college, and now you're taking a different path, but that's okay because you're learning a lot. It enhanced your personal life, what you're doing, and you can still be a mentor, right?
Right. No, definitely. Yep. So going into my sophomore year, starting the program, I was like them, kind of unsure what I wanted to do. Wasn't too familiar with all the different STEM careers. But one thing I had always loved to do was work with other people, help other people. So going into SVSU, I thought education was for me, being a teacher. And I've kind of continued down that path, not really knowing where my focus would be. And now I'm at the point where I'm a year away from becoming a health and physical education teacher, as long as with a general science minor. So I still have a little science in my background, but honestly, what the CSO program done for me is it took me out of my shell. I was shy. I was
Right.
kind of scared to speak up in front of people. If you would have asked me to do this when I was their age, I would have told you no way.
Right.
So now I feel comfortable going through the program. Now being an alumni mentor, it is kind of just continue to give me pathway to becoming a teacher and working with amazing students like them, and kind of just continue to drive that passion for myself.
Yeah, part of life's journey. It changes a little bit, and that's okay. So since you're both young women, I have asked this question. So while educational parity is emerging, workforce parity remains elusive. Today, women still only represent 26% of STEM professionals across all technical occupations. Even more troubling is that 40 to 50% of women who are in these tech jobs end up leaving the STEM workforce after like 5 to 7 years. And there are a lot more men getting into STEM versus girls and women. So I'm sure you've sort of seen those numbers. So talk to me a little bit about that. It's a bit sobering. So how can we close that gap to get more girls, young women, getting into STEM? And what do you think is the reason that more aren't going into it?
I can definitely relate to that because, I mentioned I like technology, and there aren't really many other girls in like my coding classes, for example. But I think the thing to fix this is community, right? Because if you feel that community around you, then you're less likely to leave. And so if you feel comfortable in your environment, for example, you mentioned a lot of like some in 7 women quit the tech jobs after
Right.
a while. If they can feel a sense of community and belonging and just get comfortable in that environment. So I think it's having things like, for example, Girls Who Code or different organizations that promote like people getting together and supporting women, then I think that can help. And I hope I can help towards that as well as I'm starting my career.
You made an interesting point there, a sense of belonging. And that's one of the things they said, that sometimes young women, girls, don't feel that's a place they're supposed to be. They don't feel that sense of belonging. But so what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we should leave the stereotypes behind that girls don't really belong in STEM, because obviously we do. We had a cabinet meeting just a couple weeks ago at Thomas Township, and we were on a bus full of all ladies except for 3, which was Ty, our regional lead, Jake, and an advisor. So honestly, in the next 10 to 20 years, I can really see more women in STEM.
Yeah. And in fact, in our program, we have 70% female. So in this region, I think we are doing a nice job at that. But in like the long term, I would like to see better representation. And I think we can all start that from things like this program,
Right.
starting young, and if us women can feel comfortable and going into the actual careers, making that happen.
And speaking of this region, a shout out to the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, Matt Fallon, their executive director, and Lori Flippen, who is their STEM initiative leader. They were kind of the impetus of this program. They shared it with me and said, hey, this is something that's important to them. The Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance has done just a great job sort of kind of growing the STEM initiative, the STEM pipeline, getting more people in that field, and coming alongside this program. And what is that partnership like?
Yeah, so they played a major impact in our CSO program. Matt and Lori have both taken time out of their days to speak to our CSOs at our Leadership Training Institute, kind of give us more of that STEM background of here in the Great Lakes Bay region. And they're a big help in helping CSOs make connections with local STEM companies and businesses here. And so whenever a CSO may need some representatives for their action plan, or maybe are hosting a career fair at their school, Lori and Matt are amazing partners to our CSO program, helping us find those STEM professionals and helping create some amazing action plans for our CSOs.
Two things before we go. We got a minute and a half. Youth Congress. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's something that the international program is actually doing this year to promote community service in people all around the world. So us CSOs are hosting it along with our sponsoring foundation, SciTech Institute. And we're providing this opportunity for a lot of youth around the world to make those community service projects and pay forward. So this is something that I've been working on with the international team and hopefully spread the word about STEM.
It's a very cool international team. Did you go to cool places out of the country?
We actually went to a conference. It was in Bay City, though.
Okay, well.
Just happened to be. But I'll be going to D.C. for Chief Science Officer soon.
Very cool. And before we close, the CSO program, you have a motto, which is, Emma, do you want to tell us the motto? You guys want to do it together?
We
should do it
You can
together.
get it started. So you'll say, CSOs don't just hope it happens, and we'll finish it off.
CSO, just don't hope it happens.
Make it happen.
Very good. On that note, and that's our show for tonight. But be sure to join us again next week for the follow-up. Michigan has enacted tougher new gun laws, but gun safety advocates say they don't go far enough. That's next week right here on the follow-up. In the meantime, hit me up on social media or dial into our follow-up hotline to voice your opinion, suggest future show topics. We'd really like to hear from you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a great night. I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure to click that bell icon to stay notified when we upload new content. Videos like this are only possible because of viewers like you. To help support this channel, click on the link in the description below. We'll see you next time.